Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Josh, and this is your stimulus check update for the next stimulus package for Sunday, September 20th. I hope everyone is off to a good and safe start to their Sunday so far. In this video, I'll be discussing both the first and second stimulus check. I'll also be discussing unemployment, where negotiations currently stand between the two sides, and then I'll be wrapping up this video by answering some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. But first, if you wouldn't mind real quickly liking this video, giving me a big thumbs up. It really just helps with the YouTube algorithm in terms of pushing this video out to other viewers like you, and hopefully helping other people like you as well. Okay, so I'm going to kick off today's video once again with another update on the federal unemployment insurance benefits. At this point, thankfully, the vast majority of the states have already started paying out their benefits. However, we still have a few states lagging behind. So jumping right into it today, up on the screen, you'll see the list of the states that have already started paying out benefits to their residents. Again, as you all know, these benefits are only going to be lasting 3 to 6 weeks, so Congress really needs to get their act together and pass something on a more permanent basis. Next, up on the screen, you'll see the list of the states that have been accepted for the $300 federal plus-up, but they haven't started paying out benefits to their residents yet. We can only hope that it isn't too much longer before these states begin paying out benefits. The residents in these states have simply waited way too long. With that said, let me know in the comment section below if you're currently optimistic about receiving a job offer anytime soon, if you're currently searching for employment. Okay, so at this point in time, I'm just going to move right along to some updates on the next relief package and the second stimulus check. So, just days after President Donald Trump endorsed a larger stimulus package and called on Republicans to go big on the next relief package, we've only heard crickets since. Instead of other Republicans rallying behind Trump's message, we pretty much heard mixed signals. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, of course, were pleasantly surprised by Trump's message. However, it wasn't too big of a surprise that most Republicans sort of frowned. It's actually been quite frequent during Trump's presidency that he's sort of gone against the flow of what other Republicans have been calling for, and this seems just like another scenario. We're seeing other Republican senators be more conservative when it comes to spending, driving a hard line of $500 billion for the next relief package, and then, just days later, Trump basically calls his own party out for being too cheap. And whether you believe Trump is saying all these things because he truly wants more stimulus or just for political reasons is entirely up to you. When it comes down to it, it just seems like another scenario of Republicans and Democrats not being able to work well enough together to get anything passed. Since Republicans returned from their July 4th recess period, they've been trying to negotiate with Democrats to no avail. Pelosi did come down from her $3.2 trillion offer in the HEROES Act all the way down to $2.2 trillion, but the two sides haven't really been all that close in reaching an agreement. Most recently, when House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin tried reaching a stopgap spending bill to avert a government shutdown, they included other stimulus in the deal other than checks, even. According to two Republican aides, Pelosi had a deal in place with Mnuchin that involved farm bailout money in exchange for $2 billion for child nutrition. And while farmers may need their money, and none of us want to see children go hungry, you have to wonder, if both sides were really on board for additional stimulus money, why not include that as well? After all, a second round of stimulus payments has been something widely known as a bipartisan issue for a long time now. So it's pretty frustrating to know that they weren't even discussing that in the deal. So now they're right back at square one in attempts to avoid a government shutdown, and now they'll need to reach a deal by the end of this month to avoid shutting down just a month before elections take place. Now, originally, Pelosi and Mnuchin did agree for the need of a stopgap spending bill to keep government agencies running without having any of the stimulus aid attached to it, so we'll just have to wait and see where that goes. I would expect that they do end up coming to a resolution on any of that before any additional aid does get passed, and then we'll just have to see where everything goes from there. As far as the next relief package goes, some House Democrats are growing a little bit restless and want to introduce another relief package to make it look like they're trying harder for the American people. It's now been 4 months since they passed the last bill, the HEROES Act, but there's growing concerns that many House Democrats aren't trying hard enough to get relief passed. So with that said, many of them want to pass another deal, something like what Pelosi has suggested, around the $2.2 trillion mark. On the other hand, Pelosi has been against that idea, instead suggesting it's better they hold off until they're able to reach another agreement with the Republicans. After all, What good would it do if the House passed another $2.2 trillion relief package only for Republicans in the Senate to vote no on it? Obviously, it would not be a bipartisan bill, and we would probably see all 53 Republicans in the Senate vote no on the bill. The only good that would come out of that from the Democrats' perspective is it would make it look like the Republicans were once again trying to withhold relief from Americans. They could then say they passed the HEROES Act back in May, which would have extended the unemployment benefits, sent out another round of stimulus payments, among other things, but the Republicans rejected it. Then they can say they tried once again to pass more aid, but the Republicans rejected it once more. It also probably wouldn't make Republicans look the best if they rejected a larger bill right after Trump came out and suggested for them to pass something larger. It might even make them look bad enough to lose control of the Senate to the Democrats in November, which could then give the Democrats both the House and the Senate. Then, if Joe Biden defeats President Trump in the elections, the Democrats will have control of the House, the Senate, and the White House in a clean sweep. And at that point, post-November, they should be able to pass basically whatever relief package they wanted to without Republicans being able to block it, other than a potential filibuster. But the filibuster is also something Democrats are looking to get rid of as well, so that should be very interesting. It seems like either way, we'll see another relief package, but it just depends on when. Now, it is being speculated by some lawmakers that it may not come until after the election, with everything going on right now and everything being highly political. Both sides are simply wanting to point the finger at each other and hold up more relief for Americans in hopes that it boosts their political status. This just points out to us that once again, the government can never be counted on. Instead of working endlessly with each other to work out another relief deal, instead, they continue to bicker like children, point fingers, and continue to live on with their lives. It's extremely disappointing, to say the least. That said, as always, we just have to continue to prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. As Steven Mnuchin has said countless times, there are many things Democrats and Republicans agree on, and only a couple things that they disagree on. It could be any day that the two sides just decide to meet halfway and call it a day, but again, this is something that we have no control over. In the meantime, we just have to hang in there and hope for the best. Unfortunately, that's all we can do. Okay, so at this point in time, I'm just going to give a quick update on the first round of stimulus payments. Even though most people have already been paid, the IRS still needs to get the remainder of the payments out. Now, if you're still waiting for your first stimulus payment and you haven't filed a tax return within the last 2 years, or you started receiving Social Security benefits this year, then you should fill out the non-filers tool in order to receive your payment. On the other hand, if you have filled out a tax return within the last 2 years, or you started receiving Social Security benefits before this year, then no action is required on your part to receive your payment. In the meantime, all you have to do, if you want, is to continue checking the payment portal on a daily basis. That's the best resource you can use, and it will let you know exactly when you can expect to receive your payment. Now, if you would rather speak to a live human being instead, you can still definitely call the IRS at 1-800-919-9835. And the only recommendation that I would have for you is just to call a little bit earlier in the day, just to avoid those longer hold times. Also, keep in mind, since you may have to wait on hold for a long time, most of the information they'll be able to tell you is the exact same information you can already find yourself through the payment portal. So with that said, that's the main reason why I recommend just continuing to check the payment portal. It makes things so much faster, even though it can be a little bit of a frustration at times. Finally, if you're on Social Security benefits and you receive your $1,200 stimulus check, but you never receive the $500 for each dependent you have under the age of 17, then you'll have until September 30th to claim them using the non-filers tool. Otherwise, unfortunately, you'll have to wait all the way until next year to claim a credit on your tax returns. And if you're anything like me, you probably don't want to wait any longer than what you have to for that money. Alright, so at this point in time, I'm just going to answer some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. And if you have any other comments or questions for me, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I do try to answer as many comments and questions as I possibly can, but for those comments and questions I'm not able to respond to, I do try to pick some of the more popular ones to answer in the next video in video form. Okay, so without further ado, let me go ahead and jump into the first comment of today's video, which is from Rashad. Rashad says, I never received a stimulus check and I filed taxes last year. The IRS website says it was issued on May 4th by mail. What should I do? Thank you so much for your question, and I'm so sorry you're having to wait such a long period of time to receive your first check. It sounds like they delivered your check in the mail and for whatever reason it got lost in the mail, or they ended up sending it to the wrong address. Now, in some cases, the check ends up getting returned to the IRS for whatever reason, and then they give you the ability to update your direct deposit information through the payment portal. However, since the payment portal never ended up updating for you and it still shows that it was sent, more than likely it was somehow lost. What I would recommend for you to do in this case is to call the IRS and ask them to initiate a trace on your payment. They should be able to see that you never received the check and that the check was never cashed, and then eventually give you the ability to receive it. You can call them to initiate the trace at 1-800-919-9835, and again, the main recommendation that I would have for you is to call just a little bit earlier in the day just to avoid those longer hold times. Okay, moving right along to the next question of today's video, which is from Deborah. Deborah says, we live in Louisiana and my son has not received any other money but the $222 in unemployment. When he calls the unemployment office, he is told different stories. Is there any advice you can give? Thank you. Love watching you. Thank you so much for your question, Deborah, and I also appreciate you tuning in. I really appreciate all your support. It sounds like if he's earning $222 per week in state unemployment benefits, then he should definitely be eligible for the $300 in federal unemployment benefits. At this point, it looks like Louisiana has paid out for 4 weeks, totaling $1,200. Now, the first thing that I would recommend is to log into the unemployment portal website and make sure that he has certified for the FEMA benefits. If he has, then I would call the state unemployment office once again and ask to speak to a higher up manager that may have a little bit more experience with these types of issues. Unfortunately, with any employer, there will always be the newer employees without as much experience, so sometimes you get different stories each time you call. Also, if you do see this, please let me know in the next few days if any of this helps. I really hope your son receives the extra payments very soon. Alright, so on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. If you did enjoy the content in this video and you'd like to see more videos like it, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. It is completely free to do so and it's a great support to me. Also, if you'd like to receive one free stock from Webull, valued all the way up to $1,600, please feel free to claim that free stock by clicking the link in the description box below. And until next time, I'll see you guys and I hope you have a great day today.